How's everybody doing? So welcome to the Conifer final here, which is sort of attached as an addendum at the end because all the other preliminary chronological work in the mastering the scale model tree is important to get to this stage. And then there's a couple of other tree projects I have on the go, like the Three Sisters, more even to another level, detailed trees, three of them together. And then I'm also going to do an old growth western red cedar down the road as well. So I'll just give you this intro and this short commentary first, so that for those of you that already know about this or whatever, you don't want to watch that, what follows, that's fine. But you know, somebody had made a request some time ago, and so I thought I would address it. And I didn't realize it would be 3 weeks of my life, but anyway, here it is. I hope you enjoy it. For those of you that want to learn some of the fundamental applications to getting to trees like this. And trees like this in particular, I did use 3M spray. You can see they're more fluffy and bushy inside from all the glue, but they still work pretty good, and these are okay to do outside, but I'd never do this kind of thing indoors. It's too toxic. But anyway, I kind of like this tree now, like the cell tower used to be here. And I'm not really sure if I'm going to put the cell tower back there now. I kind of like this more homogeneous look here. I mean, I like the modern cell tower, but it will eventually work in tandem with the grain elevator on the new Glover Road version 2. So right now I kind of like this look right here. Okay. And another thing I want to mention too, like when I was thinking Douglas fir, I ended up with a spruce. You know, sometimes you get a tree in your mind, right? And it doesn't come out that way. They never do. They all come out different. Like trees are really fun to model, but they're also intimidating. Like they'll humble you, right? So yeah, and then I'll probably airbrush this, I'll paint it. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, some people might like that the different tone of the sort of species of tree can work that way too. But anyway, so I hope you glean something out of the series, and thanks a lot for your support. And just a shout out to all the subscribers and all the other small sites that have mentioned Boomer Dioramas. I really appreciate that shout out, and everybody else that has just recently subscribed that are sort of anonymous right now. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate it, and I hope to bring more richer, greater, and fun content down the road. Okay, enjoy. Okay, so welcome back to the Mastering the Model Tree series. I just want to put out there that for some of you that are commenting, I do get some comments. I wouldn't say from subscribers, but other participants, and it happens where I see your comment on the bell icon, but when I click on it, I can't read the full comment, nor is it posted down below. Therefore, I cannot reply. So please don't take it the wrong way if you've made a comment and you haven't received a reply from me, because I reply to everyone's comments. I go through all of them and read them all thoughtfully and try to reply in a constructive way. But anyway, so for those of you that have been following along, this is the small conifer episode, and you know that this was the way that we applied the 12 mil grass on the deciduous tree. It's a very similar way, right? And again, it's suited to each individual, however you want to do it. I mean, obviously you got to try it out and experiment and just kind of develop your own method or how much you want to use. This one's had 2 layers now. Now remember how I talked about no thatch? Well, it's not so bad with the conifer like thatch because of the fullness when you look at a tree. And you can see obviously that they have a more full look to them. So that's okay. So I've applied 2 layers here. Let me just move this one aside and I'll bring in the one that has been already painted. And it's had 2 layers of 12 millimeter, but I massaged a lot of it away. But in this one here, I used a different type of glue. I think I was initially at the very beginning, I just had CA within reach, and I was putting CA on, and it gets kind of clumpy, and that's why I like to use, the thin carpenter's glue, because it doesn't build up, the lumpiness that you see. But anyway, that'll be okay. So as you can see here, what I've done here is I've applied, it's already dry just an hour ago with the carpenter's glue. 4 millimeter static grass dark green. It's right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just move some of these limbs out of the way. And once again, isn't it nice when you have wire armature, you can just bend and move things around? So yeah, so you can spray this if you want with 3M and do the same thing. I'm just taking this approach. It just describes the process a little more in detail. So, and if you want to do a really, really nice feature tree, which I'm going to demonstrate after this particular short conifer series, I'll show you that as well, why I'm taking this approach. But then you can take it to whatever level you want, right? If you want to spray everything, you can. The problem is when you spray 3M, when you spray that glue, as good as it is, what happens is it gets all inside these limbs here and inside the trunk, and you end up with this fuzziness, like the whole tree then again starts to look at the Christmas tree look. And you can't pick that stuff out. You'll be there all day long. So, and if you're going to have a tree up close, sort of given to scrutiny, then you want to maybe avoid that. Okay, so here's 4 mil, and I'm just going to drop it from a distance up so that it falls down sort of like an arrow. That's what you want, okay? And then you can do it upside down as well, because there'll be glue underneath it, and then those will hang down. And then what I like to do is give it one of these. Just flick it, like spin it. Okay, and it helps to splay them out, see? So there's a little bit of thatching going on there, but that's okay. Okay, so I just want to make another point about the adhesive. Why doesn't he just get it over with and spray it with 3M and then sprinkle it on and be done with it? Well, okay, that has a purpose. Like I've mentioned before, if you want to do trees that way, then feel free to do so. But once again, we're building a feature tree here, and I'll tell you the advantage and the disadvantage of using 3M. 3M is fast, it's very sticky stuff, and it works great. Problem is, though, is you're going to get glue all over the trunk and all over the inside of the limbs, and that's not the way trees are. And then you end up with all these trees that are, when you get up close, they're all fuzzy inside. And oftentimes I've seen demos where they'll just point out and say, oh, you can just pick it out, but they don't actually show you picking any of it out, because it'd be there for a week on each tree. Okay, so the reason why I use carpenter's glue watered down is I'll show you. And furthermore, when you 3M glue, don't bother touching the tree for 3 or 4 days, or up to a week sometimes, depending on what it does to the paint. It'll attack the paint and turn it into a gluey, gobby mess. Okay, so I'm just going to apply this on here. It's just very thin, watery, so it capillaries, and it actually coats the individual and runs up the static grass. Okay, I'll do 3 here. Not to mention that 3M is highly toxic. Carpenter's glue is not toxic. You can play with it all day long and it won't have any effect on you. So I'll do this from above, from underneath. Give it a little spin. See that? Now, about maybe, I'd say half an hour ago, I glued these ones down here, maybe, or 15 minutes ago. Look at, I can grab them and they're dry. You know, I'm in a warm room, obviously, but I can actually grab these, pull on them, reef on them, and they don't mat together. Like you do that with 3M glue, even up to a week after, and it'll turn into just a matted mess. All your detail will all turn into one big gooey clump. So nobody ever tells you that, but that's the disadvantage to 3M is you can't manipulate it later, right? Unless you wait at least 36 hours. So the working time is not as good in my experience as carpenter's glue that's been diluted with water, which dries within an hour. Actually, you can handle it and mess around with it. Okay, so I'm just going to close up the top of the tree here now. And let me also point out one more time, some of these limbs down here, I just glued them 10-15 minutes ago, and look at them. I can grab them, I can squeeze them with my hands, and they don't mat together. See, look. See that? If you do that with 3M, it'll turn into a matted mess. You can't grab limbs and start moving around. You got to put them away. Some say 72 hours, but I don't know. If you throw that glue over paint, that 3M, it'll soften the paint, attack the paint, and it just causes like almost an incurable mess a lot of times. You touch those trees, if you lay them on the table or if they get bumped, they get crushed, and that's it, they're done, they're ruined. Not this way. I can really manhandle this tree. Carpenter's glue, there's no toxic odor, nothing. Anyway, okay, so we'll just do the top here. We'll just paint on some of this, and notice even when it's a bit blobby in this really thin form, when you put the static grass on it, just capillaries. Excuse my hand there. Give it a spin. Okay, if I want to add, looks like I want to maybe add some limbs in here. Once again, it helps to do it a little bit higher up so that the grass sort of comes down like an arrow. You don't need a static grass applicator, by the way. Somebody asked about that. You don't have to. I just demonstrated that. Just simple manual way with water-based products all the way. Okay? Now this I've already applied 7mm to, okay? Over the painted brown branches with 12mm. And now I'm applying 4mm. Okay? And what I'm doing is because I want the boughs to drop downwards from these kind of mats here. I mean, the idea of not thatching too early, like eventually you'll get a bit of thatch, meaning very dense buildup, but you want that to happen near the end, okay? That's the idea, but it just comes with practice. So you can see these limbs here, so I can push these out of the way, right? This is the beauty of the wire limbs. You can just bend them out of the way when they're done, when that phase is done. So I'm going to dress these ones right here, these two. And you see how they look? Like the tops look really good. But you can see that they're kind of just like a mat. So we want some boughs, branches coming down, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some white glue, thin 50-50, just so it hangs on the brush, you know, like a bead. And I'm just going to stab just underneath it here. Okay? And then I'm going to grab, just pinch some of this like this 4mm, and I'm just going to stab it up and let it fall like that, see? Okay? And then what we'll do is we'll just bend that one out of the way. And then we'll do this other one right here. Like I say, when you get into a rhythm and you're not distracted, this process moves along quite smoothly. So you stab it up underneath. Okay. Bend it down out of the way. Let's pull another one down. So it's a model tree, right? Somebody mentioned earlier in the comments, and I don't blame them, they said, oh, I'm not going to go that far. And that's fine. You don't have to. But the purpose of this particular tutorial and series is about doing the very realistic featured tree that you would have under close scrutiny in the very foreground of your layout. Okay, there's another one. See how that's starting to take that evergreen shape? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to finish the last half of this tree. And then what we're going to do after that is we're going to do a final flocking with this 2 mil. Okay? This is the little pine needles. The really tiny stuff. Alright? Okay, so you ready for another round? Okay, so we're just going to summarize the process here about where we're at right now with this tree, okay? We're not quite there yet, but we're almost there. So, remember when we built the armature? So let's just say that this is the rod, and then we wound up the rod and we made our limbs, right? Like this. And then we either fiber paste it or use glue with sawdust, whatever you want to do to cover these limbs, like the areas where the, you know, if the tree trunk is like this, it's a rod like this, and then the rod comes out. So we put glue around here and here and here, and then when we build up a bit of sawdust or fiber paste, we get this kind of effect, right? Okay. That's the idea at any scale, that we want to kind of have that look. Because we don't want to cover, see, so the flocking is going to take place out here. But we don't want to cover this, the trunk or the limb with flock. That's why in this particular case, I've done it this way, okay? It's going to really show when there's good lighting on it and the limbs are adjusted and tweaked. It's going to really be an outstanding tree, only because the process is faithfully followed, okay? There's lots of ways to do trees, and a lot of just average trees look fantastic. But I'm a modeler at heart and an artist, and I like to do this. And I hope some of you do too, because you'll get a great reward from it, and you'll learn so much from it. And when you do the general trees, it'll give you so much confidence. And you know, I kind of had the idea to always take on the biggest challenges first in life, and then all the other stuff becomes easy, you know. Okay, so what we did then is, when we built up the armature, is we let's just say this is the limb, right? We laid on the 12 mil, right? Just a light application of 12 mil. And then what I did with this one is I painted it then brown with the 12 mil. Now you can do the 7 mil as well over top of the 12 next, a little bit shorter, so you get this kind of cross thatch, you know, different size branches. But you don't have to. Like, you can do both these and then paint brown. And then, of course, we don't paint brown the 4 mil and the 2 mil.
if you're not going to paint the tree, if you're going to leave this color natural. I like to airbrush my trees at the end a bit, but
we're not there yet. But so in this case, I sprayed the tree brown with the 12 mil, and then and then I added the 7 mil, shook it off, and then I've added this 4 mil, right? So these 3 lengths are applied. This was painted brown, and these are unpainted, 7 mil, 4 mil. So we got 3 basic layers of different sizes. Okay. And then you'll see that the 4 mil, like I haven't really shaken it off yet. See? I want to clean it out and rake it out and get the loose stuff off before we apply this 2 mil. And what I've done is I've taken the 2 mil and I've filled up this bottle. This was an old nutmeg bottle. Now, if my wife finds out about this, it doesn't matter. She had this before she married me, I think. Anyway, it was only about an inch in there, and it was, I don't know, does nutmeg last forever? But anyway, it's gone now, but it sure smells nice. Smells like nutmeg when you're applying it. Anyway, so I'll just show you what this looks like. This is the final pine needle or fir needle evergreen, right? See that? I'm going to zoom in a bit for you. See how small that is? So this makes a nice little shaker. And we're going to do the same application. Once I clean this tree off, and we're going to use the soft brushes you can find. This is really soft. Okay. And then we're going to use really thin glue, and we're just going to brush the limb, and then we're going to shake on the nutmeg. Okay? Okay, so now I'm going to show you this part here. This is the top. What I've done is I bent down some of these limbs because I want to get this 2 mil static grass underneath. Remember how I put the 4 mil? I was stabbing it underneath and it hangs down. So we got this, see this? We want to get that flocked with 2 mil, okay? So I can, okay, so here's another reason for the carpenter's glue. I can bend this down. I could go like this. Like if this is 3M glue, this is all going to be one clump. It's ruined. Not with cart glue. It's all rigid. You can go play with it all day long, and it's not going to affect it. You can bend it back in place. That's what I like about it. I don't know if the camera does it justice right now, but man, these boughs are looking really, really cool. Okay, now I'm going to give this a good shake here. Throws those little fibers out and splay out like that. Boy, I'm really liking that.